It is my great pleasure to invite the High Representative and Vice President of the European Commission, Federica Mogherini, to take the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President, and thank you for hosting us today in this hemicycle. I think the role of the European Parliament and the role of national parliaments worldwide is really crucial to this work we are together trying to achieve and do together. And I would like to thank the Belgian government, all my colleagues on stage and in the first row, and all of you that are spending your lives, your days and your nights sometimes for something that is probably the most precious thing that exists, the protection of human life. It is an honor for the European Union to host the World Congress against death penalty. And we Europeans, we in the European Union, are proud to be the world's largest space that is free from death penalty. We often say that our union is about values, but we sometimes forget to spell out these European and universal values. And one of them is the value of human life. We in the European Union believe, and I believe everybody in this room shares this, that every human life matters. No matter how it is used, no matter how many mistakes a person makes. We believe that a state should never dispose of the life of a human being. We believe that the response to a crime must never be another crime. We have moved beyond the idea of an eye for an eye, and we believe in justice, not in revenge. Everyone in this room shares these beliefs. Many of you have invested your whole life and continue to invest your whole life in support of this cause. For me personally, it is a pleasure and an honor and also an emotion to be here, because when I still was the Italian Foreign Minister in 2014, I campaigned for a moratorium on death penalty, and we all celebrated together when the United Nations voted for it at the end of 2014. And I'm proud to represent the European Union today. We Europeans have agreed together that capital punishment is incompatible with who we are. It goes against our fundamental values and beliefs. And no country that still foresees the death penalty can become a member of the European Union. There is another thing that brings us here today and binds us together. We all believe that progress is always possible. And we believe that positive change requires a personal and collective commitment, and this is why we're here. The story of the World Congress, I believe, is the best proof that change is indeed happening and possible. The first World Congress against death penalty took place in another capital of the European Union, in 2001 in Strasbourg. Since then, 31 new countries have decided to abolish the capital punishment. More and more people around the world are realizing that death penalty is never the good choice. More and more governments are taking action, and this is thanks to people like you in this room, with your campaigns, your work, your dedication, and also with the power of your stories. The last year gives us hope. In January 2018, the Gambia's president declared a moratorium. In May last year, Burkina Faso abolished death penalty in law. In June last year, Benin scrapped death penalty from the penal code, and the Palestinian Authority acceded to the UN protocol against death penalty. In August last year, the Catholic Church declared death penalty inadmissible in all circumstances, with no exception, sending in this way a very powerful message to all Catholic believers all around the world. And in October, the state of Washington became the 20th abolitionist state in the US. And last but not least, in December, the UN resolution calling for the universal moratorium on executions was voted by the largest majority of countries ever. So 2018 was a positive year of change. Almost every single month we had a good, encouraging news. Let's try to have a 2019 that is even better than 2018 in terms of positive results. And yet, the number of executed people remains tragically high. For this reason, we continue to work to save more lives through our support to civil society, through resolutions at the UN, and through direct engagement with all those countries that still have the death penalty, and especially with those that sentence the highest number of people. We know that many people and governments do not share our same principles, although I believe that the value of human life is a universal value, shared by all cultures and all religions. But beyond values, there are powerful arguments against that penalty that are based purely on rationality, on logic. I'll give you two. Well, you all know them, but I believe it's important to tell these things again and again. First, that penalty is not a deterrent to crime. And second, there is no coming back once an innocent's life has been taken. Let me start from the first one. The example of Canada, I believe, is very telling. Canada abolished that penalty in 1976, and since then, the Canadian murder rates have been on a steady decline. The theory that capital punishment is necessary to prevent crime has simply no foundation in real data. And for the second point, we all know that it is impossible to eliminate mistakes and errors in any justice system, as it is impossible to eliminate mistakes in life. We are human beings, we do mistakes. But in these days, you will hear the stories of many survivors who risked to be killed and that were proved innocent and are now powerful advocates of the abolition. I share with you the story of Randy Steidl, who was sentenced to death in Illinois in the 80s. In 2003, the governor of Illinois commuted all death sentences into life sentences. And only after that, Randy managed to prove his innocence and to be released. And as a free man, he campaigned for a complete abolition of the death penalty in his state. And success arrived just a few years later. We need to tell and to listen to these stories. And through them, we need to work to change the culture and the mindset of those who still support the death penalty. Because cultures and attitudes can change, even when they seem too deep and too rooted, even when change seems impossible to achieve. Look back, as you said, where Europe was only 2 decades ago and where we are now on that penalty on human rights, and you would realize that whenever they tell you that the reason why change is impossible is that something is rooted in culture, well, culture changes as well. And legislation can help culture to change, and culture can help legislation to change. So today is not only about governments or international organizations. Today is about individuals who are still suffering in death rows. It is about those who survived and are now telling the world about the injustice of capital punishment. Today is about all of us, all of you, civil society organizations and human rights defenders who are engaged every single day to make that penalty a memory of the past. And you know that you can count constantly on the support of the European Union. Today, we are here to make our voice, your voice, heard. And I'm convinced that little by little, but not so slowly, we can get closer to a common goal of a world where crime is met with justice and not with vengeance, and where human life is finally a universal value, universally respected and protected. I thank you very much.